Hey guys, welcome to House of the Builder podcast, where faith and works go hand in hand,
Where do they go?
wherever they want.
Because free will. Today we have Jerry and Zach on from Faith, Family, and Cars. Welcome.
Howdy.
Hey guys,
Howdy.
good to be with
I'm
you
s-
all today.
It's so cool to. I've been watching you guys for a while on Instagram and stuff, and I was like, that is such a cool. First of all, it's brave. I mean, whether or not you think it's brave because it's part of a calling and a lifestyle, that's one thing. But it's brave and it's very inspiring. Because it's like we'll get into this in a little bit, but when we talked with Eddie from Brickrod, we talked about like God's will in like projects, so it's cool because I have this story about going to SEMA and how I didn't think that faith could mingle with cars, and I've gotten over that. But
Right.
so when I saw your show and your brand and stuff, I was like, this is really cool.
This is everything I want.
appreciate
But for those of our listeners who are unaware of Faith, Family, and Cars, and you two specifically, tell us about yourself and kind of how you got into it.
All right. So
Well, I'm Zach. I actually am a welder for a living, but
cool.
my dad kind of brought me. This is my dad. So for people, I guess people don't
Yeah.
know us. So yeah, this is Jerry, my dad. He brought this idea over to me for us to do this podcast. I'll let him get into what
So-
kind of what happened. How he came up with this.
so I prayed for months, that the Lord would lead me into doing something that I could do for Him, but included my hobbies. So
Mm.
I really prayed for months and months about that, and I listened to a lot of podcasts. And as I was praying one day, driving down the road, it just hit me that I was supposed to do a podcast. And so immediately all these ideas just started flowing. I mean, just all these ideas started coming. And Zach was right there beside me in all these ideas I was having. So I proposed it to him. And
We were actually on the way to go buy a car that day.
yeah, a
For
project
me,
car.
I bought a 95 Mustang that day.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I proposed it to him. He said it sounded like a great thing to do, and 3 months later, we put out our first 3 episodes. So it moved really quickly, and it has been just a wild year and a half. So
Yeah, we've met a lot of people.
a lot of
We've
people.
been given opportunities like this to come on a podcast like this to talk about what we do and why we felt called by God to do it.
Yeah,
So
and so basically on our podcast, we do some fun stuff, sometimes, but we always make sure that there's going to be some type of gospel message during that podcast. And we like to interview guys that want to talk about their love for cars, of course,
Mhm.
their love for their family, and get into a little bit about their testimony because our stories attract people to Christ
mhm.
and what we've been through. And so I know that a lot of guys' stories have helped change my life. And so I just want guys to have that opportunity. A lot of times guys just they won't talk about their faith, in a public setting, but in a sit like this, they're a little more open,
Yeah. We have guys that come from all different types of backgrounds: alcoholism, drug addiction, porn addiction. Growing up in church, falling away, coming back. All kinds of different stuff like that. And it seems like in every story, their car, that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
And it has brought them out
That's
of it or
cool.
helped bring them out of it. God's used it to introduce them to people that helped them out of what they were struggling with. It's amazing to hear all these amazing stories from
Yeah.
people.
So that's a long explanation.
Yep.
So
That's a great explanation.
Yeah, that's
Love
awesome.
that.
It's amazing how God can just like meet you where you're at
Yes.
and slowly just like beckon you closer. That's good.
Yeah, I love
right.
it.
And
Did you
we've been
find?
able to meet some guys and interview some guys I would have never dreamed that. And, some of the people that we've been able to come in contact with have became friends,
hmm
and that's awesome too because I feel that God put them in the place to be on our podcast for that friendship.
That's really cool. It's amazing, even just with social media and how as dark as some of the places within it can get. That God, there's still a light that could shine in it too. And
Right.
God can use that because that's where people are at. That's Christ's model of ministry. He just met people where they were at, right? And now they're online. So why not? I think it's pretty rad. Do you think now?
Right.
Instead of getting ridiculed for dining with thieves and prostitutes, he'd be ridiculed for like following people? Like,
For
ooh, Jesus follows this person.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus posted a black square. He's virtue signaling.
Yeah, no, my God, that's probably what it'd be
Right.
like, and Jesus would be like, "You guys have no idea."
Jesus, that's cringe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, did you get any kind of when you first started? Did you get any pushback from anybody, or was there a little maybe some warfare going on, or has it all been kind of just protected and kind of smooth sailing?
Honestly, we got a lot of great feedback. I mean, we had guys telling us this is needed. This is needed in the car industry, and
That was kind of the initial thing. As soon as we released it, everybody was like pushing like, "This is awesome! You know, what you guys are doing is exactly what we need in the car community." And a lot of people liked it because they're finding like-minded car enthusiasts that are also Christian, and it's cool to see. But I will say we have had at least one or two comments where you have it, I hate to say it, but it's from Christian people.
yeah.
Like we have a ministry we do where we give away Bibles at car shows. It's something we started at the very end of
Oh,
last year.
Oh, cool.
And we have people we had a guy that was like, "Oh, why are you using this version of the Bible?" And
King James only.
yeah, King James only. And in my opinion, I'm like, I think we mentioned it on one of our podcasts. I said, if it shows the gospel and what it means to get saved, that is what matters. And I understand you can go back and forth with different versions of the Bible, and I understand there's some that aren't very good, but
At the end of the
just
day, the base message
it
is the
has the
same.
gospel message, and that's what we're trying to push here. So we had that, and then you mentioned spiritual warfare. To be completely honest, last
Right.
year.
Okay.
That's my bad. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
All right.
Okay.
Speaking of, no, I'm just kidding.
So you mentioned spiritual warfare. Last year 2025 was the hardest year of my life, and I just feel like the devil was attacking all sides. And throughout the entire year, we were doing this podcast and our YouTube channel. And I feel like you do good for God, and the enemy wants to attack
Right.
harder
Mhm.
and harder. Last year was just a perfect example of that. I was getting fought at every corner of my life the entire year. So,
Well, and
Yeah.
but we never got any like real pushback from people in car community.
yeah,
And one of the things for me is I've went to cruise-ins and car shows, my entire life, and you never really, especially growing up, I never really seen God at a car show, or at a cruise-in or anything. And that was one of the things for me. I wanted to, we want to be the light that's out there and to get guys to talk more about their faith in the car community, and it shows. I
Yeah.
mean, and I think that this kind of opened up to a lot of people that there's a lot more Christians in the car community who are not afraid to talk about their faith than you realize.
Yeah, we actually found it was very, very welcomed. Like, I mean, one of the biggest eye openers for me was we're Ford guys, so we went to Holly Ford Fest. It's not too far from us. We go every year since 2019,
Yeah.
I think.
It's first year.
So yeah, we've been every year, and this year we gave our Bibles out. So actually, when we started our Bible ministry, and the amount of people running up, and grabbing Bibles. I mean, we gave away 75 Bibles. And
Wow.
it was before the end of the night, so the more people would have taken them through the night, but we ran out. So, and then on top of that, we had a buddy who brought Jesus Loves You bracelets. Those were gone within an hour. There was 100 of them. They were gone within an hour. And it was awesome because we've got a photo of this little kid who runs up and asks his mom if he can have one of the books. And she says, yeah. So he picks up a Bible and he's just holding his Bible. And it's just amazing to see stuff like that. So it almost, honestly, our ministry was almost more welcomed
I think so.
by people, and we've been attacked by the enemy the entire year, but
Yeah.
that's what comes with doing something for the Lord. So
Mhm. Of course. Yeah.
With your fairly swift is rise the right word? Rise to popularity within the car community. Has there any been like ego inflation with that, and have you been able to kind of keep yourself humble, keep yourself true to your roots?
And dude, I don't even feel like that we're supposed to be doing. I mean, I don't feel like we're supposed to be where we're at. And
Who am I? Kind of thing.
yeah, seriously. I mean, it's like there has been no problem with ego at all because we're just like
We're still-
constantly trying to make things better.
We're still awestruck at the fact that people are actually watching us every week.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, we're just wrenching in the garage, like when we do make our YouTube videos, it's just us goofing off. I mean, our most recent YouTube video, as of us recording this podcast here, I mean, the start of it is me spray painting a van. I mean, just graffitiing all over a van. Like, what? Why are people watching us? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm at with it. So there's no
awesome.
there's no
Every
ego.
video
There's
is
no
green.
ego with us because we're just so like we're kind of awestruck that we have grown really.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's all glory to God, obviously, because that's what we're doing this
Yeah.
for to begin with. So it's just we love to see it, really.
Right.
Yeah, I
right.
think
And the
'cause I
Lord
think it
God
can
keeps
be.
opening doors.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes.
Right. That's really cool. I think it can be, especially if a person is insecure in themselves and who they are and whose they are, that there can be a temptation to kind of. Well, it's just that like sneaking in of narcissism through social media, right?
Oh,
Like
look at all the cool
Right.
things I did.
Well, like the likes
Yes.
too, and like the self-worth piece. I'm sure that's a temptation. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask that, because it's like I'm sure that's a way that the enemy can get in there and kind of tempt people to change their focus from all glory to God to, well, a little glory to me too wouldn't be so
Yep.
bad, So it's good to know that, or good to hear that you guys are kind of obviously focusing on staying grounded in that too, and
Yeah.
not
I mean,
trying to like check you or anything, but I'm
No.
sure
Oh, no.
like I've experienced it too, right? It's like,
the
there's only 12 listens on this episode. It's been a week or whatever, like whatever. Just
Yeah,
keep planting
and
the seed, man.
I
you
think
know,
the
we've
temptation's always there.
I can agree because we've had times where we'll post something and we'll look at it and be like, man, this video is getting 70 views after 5 days and our last one did 800. What's going on? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's like, and I can understand, what you're saying from that perspective of being like, what did I do wrong this time? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, you may not do anything wrong. It's just like, you got to keep yourself in check, realize that at the end of the day, it's what God's wanting with that episode or with that podcast or whatever you're doing. And the amount of views that go to it is going to be exactly in God's will.
Yeah. And let me
It's
tell
about
you
the
what
fruits.
Oh,
Right.
fruits.
Yep.
let me tell you what my wife always says to us, because my wife's a big part of the podcast that nobody sees. Right.
Yeah,
And
she's
so,
behind the scenes.
yeah. And she always says, you have to, you got to look at what makes you, what you think makes this podcast successful. And she said the whole purpose in the podcast is that to give, guys and girls a place that feels safe to hear, to see car content and hear, scripture and hear you guys talk about the Lord, right? She said, so if you help one person through what you guys are doing, if one interview helps one person find Christ, or if one
Amen.
interview helps somebody come out of some type of addiction, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
She
Amen.
said you've got
Win the
to you always got to keep that perspective. And
Yeah.
and she's totally right. And we have watched and gotten, I mean, we just recently got an email from a guy and it just blew us away. He said he was at the lowest point of his life a year back, I think it was June or July, and he said that he started to get back into the word a little bit and he found our podcast. And he said it has been such a blessing to have this kind of content to be able to watch every week and to get a message every week. And he said it's really helped me to get back on a straight path in my faith journey. And I mean, when you get an email like that, you're just blown away by what God is doing. And that puts in perspective what success is. And it keeps you
Amen.
really humble.
Yeah, there'll be
Yeah.
more rejoicing in heaven over one repentant soul, right? Not
Right.
Yep.
if you reach this threshold of, because like one of my buddies in ministry, I have a ministry background, and one of my buddies was, when I was getting down on myself for like, where are all the youth ministries? I'm like, where are all the kids? Where are they? And he goes, Jesus is God, and he never got everybody. He didn't get everybody. So why do you think you be doing that? And I'm like, okay, touche. All right. You know? Like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, this perfect human, fully divine, didn't get everyone. Not because he failed, because free will and rejection
Right.
and stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
Not only did he not get everyone, we killed him.
yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep.
I don't mean to
Exactly.
laugh at that. So, But like, yeah, it's like, okay, that puts it into perspective. You know, there's seeds. You gotta keep planting seeds. That's the whole point,
Yes.
is planting. Because if there's not, then we're not, they fall on rocky ground or fertile soil, whatever. And then if they don't, that's not, like, we can water, but we have to actually, planting is the main part.
So I
Right.
remember listening to a sermon from a pastor. This was years ago, and he was talking about broadcasting, and I was like 12, so I was like, "Oh yeah, radio." But what he was talking about was an old way of actually seeding, where you just had like a bag, and you just take your hand and throw it. He's like,
Yeah.
it's broadcasting because you'd want to, like, be efficient, so you throw the seeds as far as you were able. So getting a broad stretch, and he used that as an analogy for like, this is how most ministries should be structured, is to just like start throwing stuff, and eventually something will stick,
Right.
Yep.
That's
and the
right.
rest is up to, or the most high. So
Yep. Yeah, it is all about planting that seed. I had a time it actually really got me down, but since then I've kind of I got over it, got over myself really. But I think it was early this year. I had a buddy who he wanted to become a Christian. He was like reading his Bible and kind of like seeing videos and stuff, and he was really into it. So I was talking to him. I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "I know you want to be a Christian, but I was like, I mean, are you saved?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know." So I ran him through it, ran him through the Romans road is what I went through with him, and at the end of it, he didn't really like act like he wanted to get saved, or maybe I
Mm.
explained the whole thing to him. I didn't act like he wanted to do it. So he never confessed anything. He never got saved, and I hung up the phone, and I just sat there in my car. I was like, I failed. I did not do what God asked me to do, and I was down on myself for like a couple days actually, and I eventually got over myself, and I talked to Dad about it a little bit, and he was like, "Look, at the end of the day, you planted the seed. You did exactly what the Bible tells you to do." And now, actually, at this point, from what I understand, he is a Christian. He's saved, and he sends me biblical videos on Instagram. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
there it is.
yeah,
Yeah, like,
Uppy's in the chat, boys.
there's
Yeah.
like I forget, there's this type of seed that takes like a really, really long time, and they grew it in the Middle East back in,
Is it a mustard
it might
seed?
have been is it the mustard seed that takes a long time to grow?
I have no idea.
But I forget which one it is, but there's this one, like, I heard this speaker give this analogy about it, and he's like, there are seeds that it takes like more than a lifetime for them to grow and produce fruit. And imagine being that person who's planting these seeds, just knowing that
You'll
they'll
never
never
see the
see the
fruits of
fruits
their
of
labor.
it, right?
Right.
yeah,
But trusting that that fruit will come, and that's the whole point. That's
yeah.
such a
Yeah.
cool story that you just shared too, because it's like I'd probably feel the same way. Like, what did I do? What did I say? Was I too forward? Was it? It's like, well, no. It's fine.
Well,
Trust.
God actually used that moment too, because in that time period of me being down on myself and being like, I really failed this. God just me and my wife were at a store. We came out of the store, and a homeless guy came and asked me for money, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't got any cash on me." And I was just thinking about how I felt like I failed my friend by not leading him to Christ the way I felt like I should have. And then God just put it in my head and was like, "You need to talk to this random man about Jesus." And I was like, I'm not the kind of person to do that. Honestly, podcasting, that's not me. I don't, I'm very antisocial. I don't go and do anything. Go to work, go home, go to bed. That's it. I don't do anything. So this was really weird for me. So I just randomly, because of that failure in my mind, it was a failure. God used that to be like, hey, you need to start just talking to random people and get better at it. Get better at proclaiming the gospel and telling people about Jesus. So I told him about Jesus, and asked him if I could pray over him. And I prayed for him. And that's just like what you said. You'll never see the fruits of your labor,
Right.
and I will never see that man ever again. And but hopefully one day he takes that seed that I planted and gets saved, or it reignites his relationship with Christ, because he said he did know Jesus, but he was backsliding, is what he told me. So but yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like God can use even what you feel like is a failure to grow
Right.
and
Absolutely.
grow the kingdom, really.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I've heard the phrase "God perfects imperfect action."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, he does.
it's just, I don't know.
Yep.
It's very comforting, because I mean, I come
Yeah.
from like a bit of a ministry background, and then just I work in a very secular position now, so it's just, you know, I was having a chat with my coworkers, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing this week?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be like recording a podcast." And like, "Okay, what's it about?" And I was like, "Well, it's like, faith in trades and cars and that sort of thing." And they're just like, "Wow, I'm not religious at all." I'm like, "That's cool." And we just kept talking, and they're just like, "You know what? I'm gonna give it a listen." And then hopefully they continue, and hopefully that maybe that seed's planted. And it was definitely not my finest moment in conversing with them. I wasn't really thinking about it, but
But the thing is I think you did a good thing, because I know plenty of people who don't have the courage to even say that it is faith based.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like that right there is a seed in itself, just saying that it's faith based. Because like I've even had moments in my own life where I was too embarrassed to be like, yeah, I'm going out and doing this thing. Like, oh, where's it at? It's at church. I didn't say it's at church, but it was at church. I'm like, oh, it's basketball, but it's with a bunch of church guys. You know what I'm saying? I don't add that part because I don't, I'm too embarrassed to express my faith. But Romans 1:16, which is the theme verse of our podcast, says, I am not ashamed of the gospel. And, as I've gotten older, that's really what I'm trying to live my life through, is that verse specifically.
Right.
Because, I mean, you can't be ashamed. I mean, we've got a limited time here on this earth. Plant as many seeds as possible and don't be ashamed of it. I mean, we're going to heaven, man. I mean, if you're saved, you're going to heaven. So what does this earth have to offer? Say as much as you can,
You should be excited about it.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I want to hear a little bit more about your guys' back. Whoever wants to go for, I want to know, like, what's your background? Zach, you mentioned you're a welder. What's your background in the trades, and how did you come to that?
I'll start this time.
Okay.
So I'm involved in the concrete industry, and
Cool.
that's my regular job. And I'm on the chemical side of things, and it's kind of a unique field, really. And how I ended up there, I never thought I would. So, whenever through high school, I wanted to be an auto mechanic,
Mhm.
and I went to tech school and came out of tech school, got my first job in a shop, and was like, no, I am not doing this. So I ended up working just as in a mail room back then. There was still lots of mail coming through systems, and everything was mailed. No, not very many emails. And so I worked in a mail room for a few years, and I was like, I want to do something that involves mechanics. So I got a job with a local grocery chain, and started repairing equipment and floor buffers, and meat saws and stuff like that. And it got pretty good at that, and moved up through there a little bit. And then I got offered a job in the field I'm in now, which I've been doing for 20 years, and as a mechanic in this field. Uh, so I do, a lot of industrial maintenance, basically, is where I ended up. Never thought I'd be there because I really wanted to be an auto mechanic, but I'm so glad that I really didn't do auto mechanics, because I probably wouldn't have the fire and passion for cars and trucks, especially, that I do now. But so that's where my life has been, and raising these boys, and they've been, my life, and training them, bringing them out we worked always did our own stuff on our house. We built decks and playgrounds, and we worked on cars, and we did this stuff, from the time they were 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
I would have them under a car with me, and it sounds crazy, but I wanted to teach them to work. And so, Zach's in a trade, and both of his one's in the military, the other one's into
Well, he's a
trade
tradesman in
also.
the military,
He is.
actually.
So
He's a mechanic. So
yeah, so it's they've all went into some type of trade, which has been a blessing, because as a man, I want to work with my hands. I want to be doing stuff up working with my hands, and that's what I taught them, and they've done the same thing. And Zach's doing something that I've always wanted to be good at, and I just can't get good at it.
So I started working probably when I was like 14. I started maybe 13. I don't remember. I started grass cutting. I had a bunch of yards. had my own little business, and I did that up until I was 17. I was actually able to afford anything I wanted up until I was 17 without having to get an actual job by doing that. When I got my first job, it was like Kroger. I didn't really do much there, but then I started working like at Valvoline, and then I moved around a lot. I had a lot of jobs, but I've been an electrician. I've been a welder. I've been a mechanic. I've done a little bit of everything. But my whole goal was to become a auto tech, and I actually did courses in high school for it, and then went and worked at a Ford dealer. Realized that I hated working on other people's junk, and I only like working on my junk. So I didn't stay there very long. I don't new cars just ain't for me, man. I like working on the old stuff. Those new cars are just too much going on. So I stopped doing that, and then I found a job that would train me to weld because I had no experience welding at all. Found a job that trained me to weld, and they trained me to TIG weld because that's what they did. So I learned how to weld by TIG welding,
Oh,
and
cool.
did that for about a year and a half. They didn't pay much, so once I got good at it, I just didn't feel like I was making enough money. So I left, and I'm at the company I'm at now, which I'm a MIG welder now. I make I make duct work for like grocery stores, and I mean we actually make literally everything. So I mean our main thing is duct work, but if you need like something completely random built, they'll build it. So I've built literally everything at that company. But yeah, I love welding. I'm glad that's the trade I'm in. I really actually want to go to school for it and get really good at it. But right now we're providing for the family, and that's what the most important thing is for me. So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm providing for my wife and my 3 little cats I have at home.
Oh, awesome. Congrats. That's sweet.
So you really just started with the sorry, excuse me. You really just started with the hardest kind of welding there, didn't you?
Okay, I've heard that, but I'm gonna be honest. TIG welding is very simple, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now
Simple,
what I
but not
did.
easy.
Yes,
Right.
yes. It's not super easy, but the type of TIG welding I was doing was on very, very small items. So very rarely did you even actually have to use rod. It was stainless steel. We only TIG welded stainless. Well, we did
Food
aluminum.
grade.
It was food grade stainless. We did some aluminum. We built at that company. We built like food warming cabinets. So like if you go to like a KFC or whatever they like fry the chicken in or like warm the chicken in, that's what we built at that company. It's actually one of the biggest brands in like
Food industry.
the food industry when it comes to equipment. And my wife still works there. Actually, she actually moved up and is like in an office position there now. So
Was
that
that
company's
where you guys met?
been good to us. What is it? No, we met at a Dairy Queen.
Yeah, you did.
We met.
Like,
It was
at a
weird.
cruise night. Yeah.
No, actually, I wish it was at a cruise night. It was actually really lame how we met. My buddy was hanging out with this girl. It was my best friend in high school. It was like right after I graduated. I don't know, maybe a year or two after. I was like 18 or 19 years old. And he's like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with this girl, and she has a friend. You should come." And I said, "Okay." So I went, and me and her hung out with each other every day for a month straight, and then we just started dating. There was really no talking phase or nothing. We just kind of started dating, and then about 3 years, 4 years later, 3.5 years later, I think we got married. So yeah, there wasn't nothing special with it. It was pretty lame how we met.
Yeah. I
It was
mean,
special between me and her.
got the job done, right?
Every
To get
your
the job done.
spouse.
Oh yeah,
Right.
oh yeah. It's
Every
very
time. Hopefully just once, but
No, like every
I'm just
time.
kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, me too, man. I love it. Now I get off work earlier than she does, so I gotta sit there and wait a couple hours. But
Yeah.
when she does come home, it's very exciting.
Just sit there on the couch, twiddle your thumbs.
Yeah, yep. Just
Yeah.
sit there and wait.
Is she here yet?
Yeah, looking out the window like a puppy, like a lost puppy.
That's what it's like, man. That's what.
When you have
So-
kids, it's not like that no more.
Yeah.
You're busy from the time you get home to the time you go to bed.
Yeah, you're like, I love you and I need to sleep.
Yes.
You're great, but also don't touch me.
I can really relate to one of the things you talked about. You're trying to work on, you said you don't like working on other people's stuff anymore. It's like I can really relate to that because I worked in I went to tech school, and then I was working in a hot rod shop because I was like, I'm gonna be a hot rod builder. And then we got to the point where I was working on everyone else's hot rods all day, and then at the end of the day, I did not feel like working on my own stuff at all.
Yep.
Right.
And that's a thing. My boss, who's so super passionate about it, he just ate it up, and he'd work on other people's stuff all day, and then he'd be out in the garage all night working on his stuff. And I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why do I not want to do this all night? And it was like, well, wait a second. I like my work-life balance, and I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why there's such a difference, but I like fought it. Like I didn't want to. I wanted to go do other things, and that's okay. you know,
It,
Yeah.
but that
it
really
is.
resonated with me. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like this is not my God. This is not my purpose. And I'm not saying it was my boss's either, but like it can probably get to the point where just like with anything, with sports, with whatever, like that becomes your hope and your reason for being almost.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I have a story of an exact time that happened about a year ago.
Yeah.
About a year and a half ago, maybe. It was when I bought that '95 Mustang that we talked about earlier. I'd been out of the car scene for like a couple years, and I just kind of focused on like other stuff. I mean, I didn't have a cool car, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I drove a Nissan Xterra, and then I was
Hey,
like, you
that's
know
cool.
what?
That's a cool
Okay,
car.
thank you. I'm glad you say that because I love the Nissan Xterra, and I'm so sad
Yeah.
I sold it. I should never have sold it. I missed that. I missed
Did
that
it
car
have the
so
first
much.
aid kit in the bubble at the back?
No, it was missing it, but I was going to buy one to replace it. But I did take it off road. We have this off road trail place, like legit trails through the woods and stuff. Like
Oh,
it's a
sweet.
national forest. It's a couple hours away from us, and I took it over there and made the mistake of going by myself and nearly getting stuck in it. But it was really fun though when I was able to get out, so I didn't get stuck.
Some type 2 fun.
Yes, yeah, like almost like turtle shelled on some mud in the Xterra, and I was on 31s. I had no lift on the Xterra. I was on 31s, and like almost my wheels weren't touching the ground. I just kind of gunned it and just hoped that I would catch traction and make
But
it through.
I go
I,
fast
I,
enough. This should work.
Yeah.
it did. It did. It barely worked, but it did. We were okay. There was nobody on the trail, which is what was really scary. Is like we saw like 2 people the whole day, and we were out there for hours. So I was like, I can't get stuck. But anyway, I sold it and bought this '95 Mustang, and I bought it in June of 24. And my goal was to it had some rust that needed repair. It needed a clutch, and since so the rust was shock tower rust, so I had to pull the motor. I mean, I didn't have to, but it made it so much easier to do it. So I pulled the motor, and I was like, well, while the motor's out, I'm gonna throw a cam in it. We'll put it back in. And so my goal was to get all that done before me and my wife got married in August. It was August of 24 when we got married. So uh, me and him just kind of went like headfirst into the project, and anytime we could get, and I'm working, and I did all the rust repair myself. We fabricated the pieces together and welded them in, and that's very time consuming because it was a lot of rust. It was more rust than I expected, and I dedicated my whole life to it. That was it. I woke up in the morning, went to work. I got off at 3:30 and came home, worked on the car till 9 or 10 o'clock, went home, went to bed. And that was my
Mm.
life. And I was just about to marry my wife. Wasn't spending any time with her. Did everything for that car. That was my entire being. And God laughed in my face with it because the car broke as we put the cam in. We didn't do anything wrong. Still to this day, I've asked multiple people, looked at tons of videos, everything. It was almost supernatural. As crazy as it sounds, it's almost supernatural what happened. But we put the cam in, went to go start it up, and it just started free spinning. And I was like, well, that's bad. And I broke a cam bolt. I bent all of the push rods on the right side of the motor, on the intake side.
Yep.
And every single one of them's bent. And there's no reason any of it should have happened. I did everything exactly right. I asked tons of people. They all said I didn't do nothing wrong. I went on forums. I did tons and tons of research, being like, there's no way I did this wrong. I mean, we've built a motor before, so it's like I was doing something we've never done.
Rotated freely on
Yeah,
engine
it
stand.
did everything perfectly fine. But God laughed in my face and was like, "You're making this your God. It's not going to be ready by the time you want it to be ready." And that's what happened. And I repented afterward. I was like, God, I really just put this above you and above my wife that I'm about to, my girlfriend at the time that I'm about to marry. And you showed me that what I did was wrong, and I had to live with that. And it can be very easy to make this passion your God. So easy to make this passion your God, really.
Well, and
Totally.
I can speak to that a little bit too. And that's my testimony is I went through a 10-year period of a lot of bitterness and anger, and Sundays weren't spent in church anymore. They were spent in a garage the garage became my church. I come out
And
here
that,
by myself. I would work from daylight to dark every single Sunday. And looking back at that, I realized that that's what I was doing. I was coming out here and I was worshiping my projects. I wasn't worshiping God. I was worshiping my
yeah,
projects. And it can easily become that.
yeah, totally. You're literally on your knees in front of this golden calf. Well, maybe it's like midnight purple calf or something.
Yeah.
Rusted.
Rusted calf.
Rusty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's probably not as
totally.
pretty as the one that they worshipped in the Bible, but
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think manufacturing methods back then were particularly fancy. So
probably right. Yeah.
Probably didn't look anything like a calf. Anyways,
actually, just a rectangle. It was
but
weird.
it's but there's a balance though, right? Like
Right.
like you were probably, Zach, you were probably not like, in your mind, you're probably like, I'm doing this because I want our day to be special, and I
Yeah.
want to.
Yep.
And but then it just kind of snuck away, right? Like,
That's what
and
justified it for me. I was
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
I'm doing this for her, and in reality,
hmm
she couldn't, like, she doesn't care. She
yeah. She
she
didn't give
she
a rip
likes
about it.
cars. She likes cars, but she doesn't care if we drive that Mustang to Tennessee for our honeymoon or if we drive a Ford Fusion. It doesn't matter. I mean, she
Yeah,
don't care. But
100%.
I in my head, I was like, oh, this is for her, and in reality, it's I want a cool car and I want it now.
Right.
So
Yeah, for sure. And I applaud your honesty and vulnerability in that, because it's probably tough. If was it tough at the beginning to admit that?
oh yeah, that
Yeah,
it was hard, and when we had all these issues going, and it was like a week before me and her were supposed to get married, and all these issues just started compounding. I was just like, what am I supposed to do now? I've
yeah,
dedicated hours, and like, I mean, I don't even know how many hours we put into that, because
What?
fabrication takes a long time, especially because I'm a welder, I'm not a fabricator. So I'm doing this off very little knowledge. And, there's a lot of nights where he couldn't help me. So I was kind of out here by myself. And, it was a lot of work. It was a whole lot of work. And I'm just thinking in my head, the car's broken. It's not going to be ready. I've got to spend another lump sum of money to get a new cam and then assess all the other damage that I have with it now, because who knows what else I broke inside, because it's free spinning, and who knows what else that could be. So it was very hard when I realized that God pretty much did that, allowed it to happen so that I would realize that I am worshiping a false God right now.
Right.
hmm
And that whether or not I understand that that's what I'm doing, it's what I'm doing. And it
hmm
was very hard. But once I realized it, I came to terms with it, and I made sure that we were vulnerable about it on the podcast, because I wanted to. Because I mean, I feel like we've all experienced that. If you work on cars, that your car has probably became your God at one point or another. It's very
yeah,
easy to happen. You put your family to the side, you put your relationship with God to the side, and you're like, well, this has to get done at this time before this show so I can make it to the show.
Right.
And I mean, it's so easy to do. But once I did it, I was like, let's be vulnerable about this on the podcast, because other guys need to know about this for sure.
yeah, absolutely. How did you get to the point where you found balance then? Because I've been in that similar situation, and I shared with this on our episode when we had Eddie on. But I went to tech school, started working on. It's kind of similar to Jerry's story, actually. I went to WyoTech, and then I was going to be this hot rod builder. My ego was driving all that, and then I started getting into like youth ministry, and then I kind of reverted back to my faith, and then I was like very all or nothing in my thinking. So I was working with like youth groups and helping with retreats and stuff. And then I was working in the automotive industry at the same time. And then I went to SEMA, and I was at SEMA, and I was like, this is like car mecca, man. This is it. And then I'm like, this is it. Like I'm back in my journey with God, and focusing on my faith and my prayer life and everything. And so I'm down there, and I'm like, this is like the biggest thing that there is in this industry, or one of them. And I'm like, wow. And then I took that as maybe God telling me, or I just took that and ran with it and was like, okay, this isn't for me. So then I I got out of it. I felt more called into ministry, so I sold some of my projects, and I just kind of completely turned my back on the scene for a long time because I was like, well, this is just dripping in ego, right? Like it's all like every car show I went to is like, well, I can't believe they picked this award for him. Look at the flaws in his paint, and then look at
Yep.
this, and why is this like that? And it's if you let it, it can be an absolute like playground for your ego to go nuts in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then so I went completely the other way. And that's not good either because I think God is a both and kind of God, right? Like meeting you where you're at and, helping you develop balance in things. And so um how did you get to that point where you could balance that? And further, another question I wanted to ask too, but it kind of fits. Um how do you let God into those things, right? Like we had this interview with Aaron and Emily Reeves, and we're talking about this. I forget who it was. This guy commented on it on the one short we posted, and he was talking about, he's like, yeah, when I don't like surrender my projects to God, then they kind of go awry. And I was like, I have never thought of that. I never thought that God would give a rip about what I'm doing in the garage. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so
Right.
going from heck no, this is not of God. God's not in this. Or look at all this ego, blah blah blah. To God being like, hey, like I care about this stuff too because you care about it, and I love you, and you're the whole thing. Going from like no to yes, and yes, I love this, and I can balance with my family, and I can let God into this and grow and walk with God through this. So how did you go from no to like incorporating God in all this stuff?
Well, I'm going to say balance is really hard. Balance is really
Mm,
hard. And with him not having any children, and I mean, our youngest is close to turning 18 years old. He's doing his own thing, working and everything all the time. I can say if my children were small, we would not be able to do as much as we do with the podcast, with our hobbies. Um, because we really didn't get really involved in doing a lot of stuff with our hobbies until, I mean, he was
I was about almost a senior in high school.
yeah, senior in high school, and so the kids were getting older because it's hard to balance everything, and it's hard to keep God first and everything if you're trying to hit deadlines, if you're trying to reach these goals all the time. So for me, with our podcast and with our hobbies, it had to become, because when we first started doing all this, I mean, I'm always go all the way or go home.
We both got
And
ADHD, so when we get into something, it's every ounce of money we have is going into that
100
thing.
miles an hour.
Like
And
everything.
and I even told him when we started this, I said, it's all or nothing. So
We're
are
doing
you
it or we're not.
We're doing it or we're not.
Yep.
Are you in? And he's like, yeah. So that's always my mindset on everything we do. So I find myself all the time having to, and this isn't a good answer to balancing, but I always have these times where I have to step back and I have to say, and this is probably on a weekly basis, step back and
Mhm.
say, how much time have I spent with my wife this week? Have I made sure that I'm staying in contact with the boys every day this week? Know what's going on in their lives every day this week? Because if I don't do that, I get caught up real quick in everything that's going on. But as far as our projects go, the one thing I've realized after the first time or two trying to reach deadlines on something is we're not setting deadlines no more.
Nope.
Because when you start setting deadlines and putting those deadlines on yourself, then you find yourself spending way too much time working on that project, trying to make it happen, and all it does is hurt everyone around you, all your loved ones, because you're not giving them the time and you're not showing them the love that they need. And as far as the second part of your question, I love, because when we look at, and this might go off in a little, I don't know if you want to answer the first part or not as far as balance. Go
Oh,
off.
I like your answer. No, go
Okay.
ahead. Keep going.
It wasn't a very good answer for
Well-
balance, but it's all I got.
Well, I mean, I have to do the same thing. And like I said a second ago, we both have ADHD, and something that we both struggle with is when we get into something, it's all like we put our every bit of our being into it. And we have to realize that, just like you said, it's a weekly thing. You got to take a step back and be like, okay, have I allotted time for these things in my life that I also enjoy?
Yeah.
It's something that we just me and him struggle with. I'm sure a lot of people struggle with it
But
too, but
I'm
it's something you got to
very
work through.
I am very schedule based though.
Oh,
So
I go with the flow.
yeah, he goes with the flow. I'm
Yeah,
schedule based. So there's I
people right
usually
there.
allot time. Yeah.
I
But
should be schedule based. My life would be a lot better if I was, but no, I just kind of go with whatever I'm feeling.
so we've got a new YouTube video that just came out showing our new project for 2026, which is an 85 Chevy Suburban. And we purchased it back in August, I believe. And you never really think you can see or feel God in cars. Why would God be in cars? But as we've gotten deeper into the podcast and going to shows and giving out Bibles and things, everybody knows we're Ford guys, but I grew up Chevys. I mean, that's all I did.
Well, I was a Chevy guy growing
Chevys.
up because that's what you liked.
Yeah,
So
and so I had a square body, and I had told my wife back in July, "Hey, I want to buy a square body." We are limiting ourselves on some of the shows and places that we can go by not having a Chevrolet, so in our fleet. So I said, I want a square body again. So she's like, all right, find you something and get it. And I ran across two different vehicles, and one being the Suburban that were a really good price in the price range I wanted. And I was on my way to look at the Suburban, and some people will think this is totally crazy, but every time I go to purchase a vehicle, I pray before I buy it. And God, show me things that may be wrong with this, why I don't want it, or show me why I do need it, and what we can do with this. So I'm praying on the way there, driving this little back road, and I just felt this overwhelming feeling of, it doesn't matter what this vehicle looks like, you're buying it. And I'm like, okay. The more I prayed, the more I felt this. And when I showed up and the guy comes out and he hands me the keys, and I'm walking around this thing, I'm like, man, this is in pretty good shape. And I'm like, does it run and drive? He said, yeah, hop in it and take off. So I get in it and I take off, and I'm driving it, and I'm like, this is crazy. For the money, this truck runs,
it
drives.
drives
There's
really
nothing
good.
wrong with it.
It drove really good.
It looks rough. And I didn't even have to, when I got back, I was just like, all right, man, I'm going to give you your asking price. I'm not going to negotiate. It's worth every penny. And so I just paid him for it and called my other son and said, hey, you're going to have to bring me back out here and pick this truck up. And I drove it home. I mean, it was that simple, but because I knew without a shadow of a doubt that there was a reason behind this vehicle. And I know what that reason is now. And we're going to reveal more of that as we go through the build of this truck. And but God has a purpose for this vehicle.
Well, God's already provided for it too. Like that van I was talking about graffitiing at the beginning of our newest video. That van is going to be used for the LS swap in the Suburban. So I mean, he provided that for a unbelievably low price, like unbelievably low. The vehicle that we got with the LS is a driving vehicle that could be registered and daily driven. That's how good this vehicle was. And we got it for an unbelievably low price. Like God just provided it. It just came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Random day. His brother called him, was like, hey, I got this van. And he's like, I'll buy it from you. And he's like, okay. So just like that, we had an LS, and it was driving vehicle. But the praying over the vehicle, that's the thing I do too. I got that from him, but I've prayed over every single vehicle I buy. I just bought my wife a new car beginning of last year, or middle of last year. We've prayed over it, and it has been an amazing car for us. But then I've also had times where I've prayed over vehicles, and I encourage everybody watching this, pray over the vehicles before you buy them, because I promise you, it's amazing. I mean, prayer works, guys. I prayed over this Dodge Dakota I was going to look at. And I was like, God, if I'm not supposed to have this vehicle, I want you to give me I want to just be able to look at it and be like, I'm not supposed to have this. I need it to be right there in my face, because I wanted it. It was a nice truck. It was what I was looking for. And I went, laid down, big old rust hole in the frame as soon as I looked under it. And I was like, there's my answer right there. That's exactly what God was telling me. And it was blatantly obvious. I was like, I don't want to have to go looking for a reason not to buy this. I was like, I need you to tell me in the most easy way possible. And there was a rust hole as soon as I looked under it. So it's God can very easily be glorified and seen in our passion. You just got to let them in, really.
Love that. Because it's so counterintuitive. Because the industry can be all about material and ego and all the things, but that's anything, right? That can
Right.
be in anything.
It
And
is.
I'm on this like, yeah. When he posted that, I've been Christian my whole life, and I never thought once about welcoming God into my passions. But he put them there. That's the weirdest part. Like, what?
Right.
He's like, I gave you
Exactly.
these desires. I wired you the way that you are, and I love you the way that
Yeah.
you are, and that's your passions are good, and let me in, And I was like,
Right.
it just blew me away. So we got this old international I'm working on, and you can bet that I'm praying over this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's
Oh,
your
you need
purpose?
to.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Right. So one of the things that, like, for us in our projects, this is the way the Suburban will be, but the F100 is kind of our staple project. I bought it in
It's like the
2019, and
face of the channel, really.
yeah, it just keeps growing. And for me, one of the things, the way I look at these vehicles is I'm not out trying to find the best looking vehicle. I'm trying to find something that's solid, got a solid base to start with. And we tell people all the time that, man, get it running, get it driving, and so you can start enjoying it, because then you're not going to lose interest in what you're working on. But for me, it kind of goes back to the story that Jesus, when Jesus is saying in Matthew, build your house upon this rock. So in Matthew chapter 7, he's telling us to build our salvation upon the rock, him, the solid rock, Jesus Christ. And when I look at these vehicles, you think about the first thing you want to do is make sure that you've got a good solid frame, you've got a power plant that's going to be solid, a transmission and rear end suspension, everything that's going to be solid to get you where you're going, to lead you down the right path, and something that's going to be dependable. And you're not necessarily, for me, I don't look at the outside as that big of a deal, because just like our salvation, the inside changes, and then you see the outside change.
Yeah. You get the motor running and driving first, then you start messing with the
Right.
stuff on the
So then you
outside.
start messing with the outside. You start messing with the interior. You start making it more comfortable. And when Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7 to build our house upon the rock, that's the kind of the way we look at builds in our shop. We're going to
Mhm.
build them on a solid foundation. And then as they grow, and like the truck has over the last 5 years, 6 years, as they grow, they're going to grow into something that in our eyes is beautiful. Even if it's old rusty patina, it's going to be, beautiful. And that's the way our salvation is. So that's the way we look at our builds. The Suburban looks really rough, but it's getting ready to go through a transformation underneath that's going to make it super dependable. It's going to make it a great vehicle to drive. And so when you're looking for something in your hobby, you gotta think about scripture and how scripture can intertwine in what you're doing. And we did a Sunday school class not long ago, and we talked about this very same thing, and how the engine is the heartbeat of the motor, and Christ is the heartbeat of your salvation. Christ is your salvation, and how you don't have to fix yourself before you come to him. He's going to fix you from the inside out.
Yeah.
And that's how we look at it, and that's how
Mhm.
we try to intertwine things with what we do.
Well, you can find Christ in everything, and if you really look deep at like your hobbies, like Christ is, it can be like behind, like, I mean, just like that analogy, like Christ is in everything. I mean, it's biblical. It's in the Bible, and it's very. I feel like we've found it to be fairly easy to find it in this passion and in the passion of cars, and be able to share it with other people. I'm hoping that people take something away from what we do at the end. Like you said,
Right.
if it's one person, that's what matters the most.
Yeah.
I love that. Good for you guys. That's really cool because and it just speaks to the importance of your calling, of your mission too. Like, how many people out there are card carrying Christians, also car guys, and not realizing that those two can kind of link up.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
And God gives us all talents. And, you
Yeah.
got pinstripers, you got painters, you got interior guys. That's a talent that God has given them. I mean, they just didn't figure that out on their own. I mean, God gave them the knowledge and the understanding to be able to do it. And just like with welding and in the concrete industry, there is talents involved in all of that you can shine through Jesus Christ and the talents God has given you. And you do your very best at what you're doing because it's a talent that God give you. You
Mhm.
shouldn't waste, you shouldn't
Yeah.
half do stuff because God give you this talent for you to fully use, not just to waste or to play around
And to
with.
multiply, right? Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
that's
Right.
so awesome.
It's like, what's that, like, probably, like, Sunday school song? It's like, "This Little Light of Mine."
Yeah, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like,
Yep.
Yep.
I'm not gonna hide it under a bushel, and, like, it just kinda dawned on me that it's talking about faith, but it's an analogy for your talents and whatnot too, because as
Right.
you've said,
Yeah.
those are God-given and divinely inspired, so why not?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and I grew when I was young in church. I grew up in a really really strict church, and a lot of rules and things. And eventually, my wife and I, after we got married, and we're married for a few years, we became the youth leaders at that church. So I also have a passion for seeing the youth get involved in trades and in hobbies, and I want them to realize that, video games and technology isn't everything. They can get out and use their hands and create something and
Yeah.
not just be stuck, in front of a computer or in front of a video game or they can create things that they don't even know they have the talent for if they don't get out there and try to do it. And that's what I did with my kids. And because I just was like, there's something that they each one of them has a talent for, and
Mhm.
they need to get out and work and learn what that talent is. And we, on our podcast, we try to tell guys and ladies that you got to get out there and do whatever it is your kid likes. Get out there and do it with them
Mhm.
and encourage them to do it more and more. Because if you're out there doing it with them, that's encouragement to them to want to do it
Mhm.
more. And because we really need, we're going to lose, like in the car world, we're gonna lose hot rodding if we're not building up some young hot rodders.
Mhm. Totally. Oh, Jerry, just a side note. How proud are you of Zach? And like this, I have my son's 10, and it's constantly on my mind of like, I want to raise this kid he's my only son. I have two daughters that are younger, and just really been reflecting on like raising this raising him to be a man of God, raising him to be, like those like not initiation, what's the word? Rite of passage. Like I never got that whole like you are now a man. Like I never got
Right.
that. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can pass that on to my son and those types of things. And so it seems like from my perspective, looking, outside looking in on the dynamic that you have, just knowing you for the hour that I've met you, it seems like you've knocked that out of the park in how you've raised your son. And how proud of you, how proud of him are you to see where he's at today? And just as a father, like speaking father to father for a second, like that, like you've accomplished the goal, or is it just an ongoing thing? Like, tell me about that.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. It's unbelievable to watch your children. So I'm gonna hold back, tears
Yeah.
here because listening to him talk to you guys and be vulnerable with you guys about, his walk, his faith walk and everything. I was holding back tears just watching him do that, and to
Totally.
know that I had a very small part of that because God is the reason why he's able to do that, and just a few months back, I watched him baptize a 17-year-old young man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was just like one of the most awesome days in my life, to watch that and to see God use him.
Mhm.
Tough question because you try so hard as a parent, and then when they come adults and you see them maybe stray away from the faith as he did, and he's very open about that. And it hurts inside. But then
Mhm.
you see all the things that God's using them to do, and you're just amazed
Yeah.
because it's not you that did that. Because I could not have raised him the way that me and my wife did. We could not have raised him that way if we didn't put God first in our life. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a 10-year time period when we didn't, and that showed in him. It showed in our other children when we were not taking him to church, when we were not focusing on God. And now, we got back into church. We really, both of us, if God is number one in our life, and we're seeing even as adult children that work through them too, and I couldn't be more proud of all three of my boys, but I'm super proud of how I've watched Zach lead people to Christ, baptize them. He's not ashamed of who he is in the Lord, and he's willing to get on a platform like this and talk about his faith, and to me, yeah, I'm proud that he's a welder. He's a good welder. He just fixed the floor in my truck, did a great job. But that really, honestly, my most proud moments is seeing him do things like lead people to God, and seeing him not afraid to talk about his faith. And it's unbelievable because as adult children, don't think that when your kids become adults that it gets any easier, because honestly, in my opinion, it gets harder. It really does get harder because you no longer can fix things for them. You no longer can, do things for them. You're sitting back praying for them. You're trying to mentor them. You're trying to lead them in the right way still, but they're still going to do what they want to do. And I'm super happy and proud that Zach has decided he's going to stay on that path and follow Christ and put Christ first in his life and not be ashamed of it. It's awesome to watch. I'm so proud of it.
That's cool.
Appreciate that.
Love that. That needs to happen more too. The father-son dynamic. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's beautiful because I think of like all of the things that I share with my own father. It's like, oh man, those are some of like the best times. So for you guys to be able to,
Yep.
do that on a regular basis, I think that's awesome. And I think the world needs more of that. So
Mm-hmm. Good
Well,
on
for
you.
me, I grew up, and my dad wasn't a Christian, and my mom was. That's who took us to church. It was. I grew up really good. I mean, honestly, but it's rough having that battle, where one's living for the Lord and one's not. And so I knew whenever I became a father, I was going to do things different. And so we did things a lot different than how I grew up, and the Lord's blessed that, and it's awesome. It
Well,
really is.
what I think that helps with mine and his dynamic is the fact that when I was being raised, it wasn't dad is dad. I mean, dad was dad, but it's not just like he is only there to discipline and that's it. Dad very quickly in my early teenage years became like my go-to person to talk to, like someone I could speak to. I feel like that's what every kid needs. And I mean, I'm 24. I still talk to him almost on a daily basis to ask him for advice and things that how I should go about things. But it's because at that young age, he came to me and allowed me to be open with him without really repercussions at times. Just it being like, look, I screwed up. I need to talk to somebody about this. And I could talk to him. And that has went through all the way through adulthood. So I feel like something that helps our dynamic is the fact that he is dad and my best friend. And we're able to communicate about things. A lot of our times out in the garage, I mean, we'll be out here to record a YouTube video and we'll stand out here for an hour just talking about life and kind of what I've got going on, what he's got going on, because now that I'm an adult, he's vulnerable with me and tells me the stuff that he's got happening in his life. So we're able to have that, man to man conversation. And I think that's what makes us work together really easily. I think that every son needs a father like that, and every father needs a son that he can go to as well.
That's awesome.
True.
Love that. A lot of inspo today.
iron sharpens iron, right? So
That's exactly
who says
right.
you have
Yep.
to look- who says you have to look outside the family for that? So
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
you know what? Iron sharpening iron isn't always clean. It's a messy thing.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
as a dad,
rarely is it clean.
Yeah.
right. And so as a dad, you got to be able to listen to the mess, not try to fix the mess, but be there for them as they go through the mess.
That's the hardest part as a man is not the hardest, but one of them is not trying to fix. Just listen.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
full well what the situation needs, but
I
they
mean,
also
we're
an ear, you know?
Right.
we're instinctively as men, we're fixers. That's what we do. We
Right.
fix things. You know, something breaks in the house, you fix it. Car breaks down, you fix it. You know, that's what we were created to do. I mean, we're the fixers. So
Yeah.
when there's a situation that you can't fix, just kind of got to do what you can and watch it as it happens. You know,
Yep.
Yeah,
it's hard.
exactly. Well, as we kinda it's been what? Man, it's been over an hour. As we kinda wrap up, I could talk about this all day with you guys. This is awesome.
Oh, we could too. Believe me.
As
We should talk about it one day.
day.
All
Just
day.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But as we kinda wrap up here, as far as the channel goes, the podcast, what do you have coming up? And you kinda teased a little bit about the Suburban, but what do you have coming up? And, like, where can people find you guys? And any other last, like, message you wanna share?
Well, coming up, we actually the first part, January and February, we've got a whole lot going on, um, personally, and starting this year. So we are not going to put out quite as much content. We do have some interviews lined up, and for us, we were invited to go spend some time with someone that I have watched for years now, and I finally got to meet him. Um, at a show back in the fall, and he actually invited us to come to his place and do some YouTube and podcasts with him. It's one of those things where God opened a door that I wasn't even going to try to knock on, and he just opened it up, and we were able to walk on in. So we thank God for that. That's coming up.
Yeah,
I can't.
we'll keep that a secret
Yeah,
because
I
we don't
can't
know how
give too
much he
much
wants us
about
to
that.
say, but
So
it's somebody very big in the we'll say in the truck community.
truck community.
We'll say
yeah.
that. We'll say the truck community.
So we're really excited about that. And of course, we've got our Bible Talk podcasts coming up with Eddie Pat. Those are going to continue through next year or through this year. We've got the Suburban. That's going to be the big YouTube project.
We've got a random interesting project that I'm
yeah.
heading up, and I think it's gonna be a pretty fun YouTube video. We're still working out kinks with it.
It's gonna involve a daily driven family car.
Yeah, we're gonna
So it's gonna be
we're
interesting.
gonna mod a sedan pretty much. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Nice.
interesting. Man, what else we got?
But-
Season 2 of My Story, His Glory,
Yep,
which is
which is
a
our
subsidiary podcast that we have that my mom runs.
Yeah, that'll come out in March.
Yep.
She's the brains behind all
Which
of that.
that podcast is basically people just sit down and tell their testimony. That's what it is. It's not car related. It's testimony only.
Yeah.
But it's helped so many people,
Yeah.
like already, so many people.
Several people have gotten saved through that.
Yeah,
which has
or
been awesome.
rededicated life to Christ.
Yeah.
So
that'll be kicking back off in March. But like I said, these first couple of months, we haven't really said a lot about it on our YouTube or our podcast, but we will be taking a little bit of a step back just to deal with some things that we got to get taken care of the past couple or over the first part of this year. But we're going to have tons of content. We've got about 8 shows lined up we're going to be going to this year in the region. And
we got like 3 or 4 cars that we got to do stuff to.
Yeah.
That we're gonna make videos out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the F-100's constant, and depending on which vehicle's ready, it's either going to be the F-100's always ready, but it's going to be it or the Suburban. We'll be taking on Power Tour, Hot Rod Power Tour. So we'll have a ton of content coming out, later in the year from that. And it's going to be, I've been sitting looking at all the stuff we're going to be doing this year, and it's going to be a busy, busy year.
It's kind of scary. We have so
yeah.
much that we have planned, and just hoping we can get it all.
Yeah, but
done.
the podcast is it's going to keep doing what it's been doing. We got more interviews lined up. You're going to see some familiar faces because we're going to bring back some prior guests who have ventured off into some new things and got some new YouTube stuff going on, and we're going to bring them back on to talk about that. So that's basically all I can really get into, is because I really want to tell you what the big surprise is going to be, but I can't. So
yeah, we are
You
Faith
can
Family
tell us-
Cars
You
on.
can tell us when we stop recording.
okay,
Yeah, there we go. There we
okay,
go.
we can do that.
Yeah, we're Faith Family Cars everywhere: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I think it's it.
Yeah.
Facebook.
And
Yep.
you can go to faithfamilycars.com and get you some cool merch.
Yep.
Cool.
We'll throw that
Awesome.
plug in.
We'll link to it all in the show notes of this episode. For
Awesome.
Sure.
Okay.
Just one last question for you guys is what's one practical way that you've been able to sort of bring God onto the shop floor
Well,
in
I
your
think
daily life?
in what? I'm sorry.
In your daily life, sorry, like a practical way. That's sort of a theme that we have with all of our episodes. Is we like to get advice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I think for us is it's really prayer in everything that we do.
Yep.
I mean, before we do these podcasts, like before we even got on with you guys and had prayer before this podcast, we had prayer.
Yep.
When we start working on things and we know that it's going to be something that could be frustrating, we have prayer. If we get into a frustrating situation while we're working, we stop and we'll have prayer.
Mhm.
And to us, prayer is we've just seen so many great things happen through prayer. Well, in everything we do in our shop, when we're doing, like, at the beginning of 2025, we did some classes for some kids, teaching them just maintenance on vehicles. We prayed about that before we did it. Every single thing that we do, we pray and involve prayer in what we've got going on.
And for me, prayer is huge, obviously, but on a daily basis, I actually start every morning on my car ride to work. I started off with a 6-minute podcast called The Daily Blade with Joby Martin and Kyle Thompson. They just give you, it's for men specifically. I guess women could watch it, but it's based toward men to sit down and they just give you a little quick devotional in the morning. And then after I listen to that for about 6 minutes, I will pray all the way till work. So, like you said, prayer is huge. I've watched prayer work. And I mean, I prayed for my now wife to be saved for 4 years straight, and she got saved. So, I mean, I've seen prayer work,
Right.
I mean, prayer never fails. Prayer and just introducing Jesus to people that we meet,
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Awesome.
Love that. So yeah, we'll link. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being so vulnerable, being so open, sharing your stories with us, and kind of definitely inspiring to think about and to understand how we can incorporate prayer into our lives and God into the parts of our lives that we don't think He really cares about, but He does because
He
He
does.
created us that way, which is
Sure.
really cool.
Right.
Um,
And you know what? Sometimes we think we shouldn't pray about something. God cares about the little stuff in our lives too. He
Yeah.
really does.
And that's where that intimacy comes in, right? You share the intricacies, the little minutia of your life with your people you're closest with. And
Right.
so if we can get to that point and we can share that minutia with God, then God can be one of the people that we spend the most time with, or that we're the most intimate with. Well, Jerry and Zach, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing it's a bit of your testimony and just how you incorporate God into how you find God in the trades and how you incorporate them into the car hobby. We really appreciate your time. And like I said before, we'll link all of your links in the show notes of this episode. And you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Let's
Thanks,
stay
guys.
connected.
Thanks for
having
Let's
us.
do something in the future.
Love
That'd
to
be
have you on
awesome.
the
Yeah.
show repeatedly. So
Yeah, whatever you want to come on, whenever you want to promote something or whatever it is, just look us up for sure.
All
Yeah.
right, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate that,
Thank you.
guys.
all right, take care. Call me Hair. Love you. Bye.
All right.